What you see here is a furniture piece I downloaded from the SketchUp 3D warehouse, and then I imported it via the Collada format. So I also used Collada as the download. And sometimes those SketchUp models can be quite interesting because you can use them to kind of like see how they're built and then use that as an idea to rebuild it yourself. So this I put to somewhere else. There I have an empty. That empty I would like to be X, Y at 0. And then I rotate this empty. And then I'm curious if this object is symmetrical. So I select a point there. Let's see, minus 52. Yeah, the object is close, not 100% symmetrical. Okay, not a big deal. So how do we build this in a way so that we can effectively do this in Blender? The wood parts, etc., if we would bring that into Fusion, we would like to be built as individual objects. So we can send that to the CNC machine or create the technical drawings based from it. So what I will do in this case now is set my cursor at the world center, create a plane, and then in edit mode I scale this plane down. And for example, to there, and then I move it to there. I move this one up, so I'm in move command. And I forgot to mention that before. Here I scaled along the x-axis and then I hold control, so I scale and snap to this position. And then maybe from here I want to put this one up. Now the question is, do I want to use a modifier, or do I want to use so the modifier solidify, or do I mesh model it? In this case I simply mesh model it. How big is that part? 2 centimeters. Let's clean this one up. 2 centimeters, and maybe this should be 1 meter. Oh, 1.4, 1 meter and 4 centimeters. Okay, good. Fine. So next step, those small tiny legs, they will be actually pretty easy. So I will G and Y move it to there, G and X move it to there, and then this one I snap down to there and snap to there. Let's see, it's a little bit off, so 2.5 centimeters, 2.5 centimeters. So I just clean this up a little bit. I will reset the origin so it's centered. Okay, good. And then I can go into edit mode, E and Z till it snaps to the plate. Okay, and then this is, for example, 1.5. Okay. Whoops, only this one. And 1.6. Okay, good. So GX 0.0015. Oh, sorry, 10 less. So 1.5 centimeters, and I do the same here. GY.015. Okay. So it's a little bit cleaned up. Okay. So these objects are not the same. These legs will be copies, so I can actually maybe make a mirror. So I have my other 4, X and Y, and I will select this wooden block as my mirror access point. Here's the center point, and there you see now I have the wooden part rebuilt pretty quickly. Perfect. And let's move this to layer 2. Sorry, 1. Okay, now we should take a look at this foam part, how we could build this. And we will build it in a similar quick way. So assume there's a wood construction inside with a little bit of foam, and then we stretch the fabric over. So I go to the first layer because I want to see this box here, because it's basically that sits on it. So Shift D, escape, move this one up, and then I will slide this back down so it rests on there, because this is actually my starting block for this part. Okay, good. Now there are multiple ways how we could cut actually this block out. The easiest one honestly will be this way. So 2 loop cuts, scale this apart, and then here 1 loop cut, move this one to there. Okay, and then 1 loop cut down to there. And then this front edge we can delete, because now here we have our edges. We can E and Z move down, AA remove doubles. So now these points are fused, and then we can fill in the missing face, and it's capped. Good. So edge rounding. You will see that this is rounded much bigger, and then the rest is rounded with a smaller degree. So how can we do this actually with Blender? So in Fusion we would do 1 fillet and then the next fillet, and we do exactly the same here. So we make 1 vertex group, and let's see how this works. Okay, perfect. And let's say fillet big. Then we can add a fillet command for this vertex group, maybe 10 steps, 5 centimeters. So, okay, and you see how this pushes down. We will not turn on any sub D for this part, because we can keep it the way how it is. This is not like something like a pillow where we have to soften it more. And then we can add another bevel command, one centimeter, maybe also here 10 steps. We use angle, so all the sharp edges will be filleted. So that seems to work actually quite well. Maybe shade this one smooth, turn the outer smooth on. Okay, so there will be some bevel issues here like there, so that's actually quite normal. We could maybe help this by adding an additional loop cut like this and 1 loop cut like here, and you will see why. This, and then this, oops, no, you, and you. These we will select as well. Make maybe a second bevel there, and then this one here we set to there. Let's take a look how this feels. You see this is rounded and this is rounded, but interestingly there something collides. Okay, let's see what the issue is. Select, okay, you. Please remove from that selection, because only this edge I would like to be selected. You see in Fusion we select edges, and in Blender or polygon modelers we have to select vertices. But this point and this point, they're on the same edge, and that is why I actually created those lines in between. So when I have these points selected, this complete edge does not get selected. Okay, so let's go back. Fine, fine. Okay, bevel command. So 1 centimeter. Let's make this 2 centimeters so it's softer. There, 10 angle. Okay, and there you see now that this works a lot better. There's a small geometry issue here. That's fine for what we do here right now, because all these fillets, the way how we created them, are more to study. In Fusion, we would only bring over this boxy model and then actually do the fillets there, because then the end result will be a tick cleaner and more precise. But we can quickly pre-study how this could look. So this is basically the way how you do a stacked edge rounding. So multiple commands based on different edge or vertex selections. So big, small, and for example, this here all the rest edges. Okay, nice. So that wasn't too difficult. So let's take a look at how we can build this part. Also, oh, actually, the rounding was perfect because it nicely fits into the design. So how do we build this pillow? We can again start with an object, and then I scale this one down. There. There. Whoops. And then this one I move down to there. Okay, so this goes down, the center part goes up, so I have to work here a little bit with loop cuts. So I will set my geometry to the object, no, my center point is object geometry, and now loop cuts. There, and that's good. And there, okay, then for example, E and Z, move this one up. And now this has to bevel out, but I don't have any loop cuts there. So Control R, right mouse button click. So you actually do not by accident make a loop cut and then you slide it. So that worked well. And then I will hide this for the moment so it's easier to select. I select all these points here and drag them up. Okay, goody. Let's take a look. It looks very painful. So let's soften it. And now it looks like an inflated air mattress for the pool, but not like this. So we need to add more definition to it. So how can we maybe get this done? So there are multiple ways. So you want to there, and there. And then when we press Shift Control B, we kind of add a small fillet, or not fillet, bevel at that vertex. Let's see how this worked out. So it added a little bit to it. So let's redo it. Oh, okay. Decided to lose that selection, and I will just do it manually one more time. But before I do this, Shift D, copy, move this onto a different layer so I have a backup, and then Shift Control B. Okay. And if I press E and then Z to pull it down slightly, you see I can get those, button structures. So let's see what happens is when I take those points and move them further up. This is also to round, so 2 loop cuts, right mouse, click and right mouse button, and then S and Z to scale them apart from each other. So I tighten actually that part. Great. So let's compare. Yeah, gets close to it. Let's take a look. Yeah. But I'm not really a big fan of this construction I have here, so I will select all these points and maybe, let's see, G and Z. Yeah, I will delete it and then F, fill it back. Sometimes, as you can see, also with me, I try something out because I have an idea, and sometimes it doesn't necessarily work well, and then I leave it. So maybe I would like some of these edges to be sharper. So hold on, let me go back to my backup object here. That's the reason why it's always good to have those backup parts. There, there, and there. Shift E1. Okay. Because I was just curious, what happens if we crease all those? And then we add a second modifier afterwards. So you see that it rounds it. So with the first modifier I crease that edge, and then with the second I soften everything. So let's see if I select these points here and, for example, push them down a little bit. Yeah. And 2 and 9. Yeah, you see actually this process worked out better and I'm not destroying my geometry as much. So I will bring this one back. Okay, maybe actually these points are a little bit higher. So one tick higher, and maybe the same with these points. Just the corner is a little bit lower. And no, that looks terrible. Also from here, actually, this is way too wobbly, so this all has to be more flat. Yeah, okay, good. And if this maybe goes higher, then I assume what I might have to do is all this together might have to go up. Yeah. We could also, if we want to crease this a tick more, select all this and then Control B. And add actually really fine loop cuts. Yeah. Shift E -1. Yeah, but honestly, for the concept model, I think as a first start, this is pretty sufficient. So what's missing now are maybe those buttons there. So to do the buttons is pretty easy. We can snap position a cursor to the selected, and then no, let's still do it. Now we can do it with a basic cube. That's really fine. Basic cube, and then subdivide, make it flat. Okay, let's see how wide is this one. 4 centimeters. Let's make this a 2 centimeter, 2 centimeter button, plus minus. Yeah, that's actually pretty big. Good. Let's shade this smooth, move it up a little bit, and now the question is, how do we position it perfectly to the rest? So what I would do in this case is I will use the array modifier. I need 3, and then I have to, whoa, not this one, adjust this one till it perfectly centers on this line. Six, 9, 6, 5. Ah, there. Good. And then one more time, but this time actually this direction. So negative, as you can see. Whoa, 2, 3, I mean. Yeah. Okay. And you can see these buttons are hovering above it, so we have to push them down a little bit there, so it really looks like they're pushing everything down to a certain degree. So let's save this so it doesn't crash, because there's one tiny thing maybe that could be finished. So these points here, they should go up a little bit as well, because then we have these points that go down. So there, 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 and there, 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 and there. Okay, the main reason for that is if I make a cross-section look, you can see that there's a little bit of a dip, but if I push these up a little bit more, it will enhance actually the feeling that these pins push everything down. Yeah, okay, good. So this point I will parent onto this upholstery part. So when I move the pillow, woo, the rest follows it. So now we have to take a look at the other part. Ooh, they're cheated terribly. So 3 and 4, good. So in our case, then we can maybe do something like this, Shift D. I will just try to do an understanding of how many I need. So actually in my case I might only need 2. Okay. So how do I do this? Actually, that's quite easy because this object is more or less very symmetrical. So you can select all this, deselect these 2 edges, spacebar, bridge, fillet, and then I made this way too short. Oh, not a big deal actually. Sorry, I made a mistake. Instead of filling this, I want to mirror the part. So mirror up to there along the y-axis. Whoa, you see it mirrors not to the correct position. Not a big deal. I will select this point as my target, cursor to selected, and then object mode, Shift Control Alt, and snap the origin to the cursor, and there we are. Now we have a small pillow piece back. Goody. And did I do this without? Yes, I did. Wah, wah. That's why it's always good to have backups. I actually did this to the main object. So you and you, Shift D, escape. I move it to layer 3. This one here does not need this array, and I will Alt P clear the parent for the moment. And then here I will delete all this and then add my mirror modifier. The point is selected, Shift Control Alt, set the origin, and then this one will be parented back to this new object center point. So now I can rotate it and then put everything correctly into the position the way how I want to. Maybe like this. Maybe a little bit down. And if I want to be more accurate, I can actually GZZ, no, YY, yeah, move this one down to there. And then select these points and then GYY and slide them back till, for example, this part feels flattish. Oh, what happened there? That's not good. These points actually moved to somewhere else. I don't know how I did that. So let's quickly fix that. So Shift S, cursor to selected. You, and you. And you. Let's go to normal, local, 3D cursor. SZZ0 there, and then yeah. Okay. There we are. Now there we have a small chair, including some quickly sculpted upholstery part. Now they're not as very sharp. There are also no how could I say that? No seams or creases. So if we want to do this as a detail, then we have a perfect layout actually here. So P and separate this one out, this, and this, P and separate, and here I select the complete ring, P and separate, and here this lower ring, P and separate. Okay, so when I go into edit mode, I want to Shift E -1, turn off all the edge creasings. This maybe I move down a little bit. This maybe I move up a little bit to there. And then this doesn't need to have so many sub-Ds. That is ridiculous. There. Maybe we simply say 3 from the beginning. And then shrink wrap this one onto this part. Same here. And then we can add a skin modifier to quickly fake, kind of like a fabric pipe that goes around it. Control A. So how big, what size, easiest way to zoom in till you see millimeters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Way too much. So now we have 6, now we have 5. Okay. That's pretty good. And maybe here after the skin, then we do another subdivision to smooth out this very blocky looking skin object. Okay, good. So one here, maybe we want to select this lower one, upper one, Control L, copy modifiers. Ooh, this is huge. So I'm curious what value you use. So mean value y and z 0, 0, 3. Okay, so then we can do the same here. Dot 0, 0, 3. And it fit. Perfect. U and U. Control L, copy modifier. And then AA. Select everything. Dot 0, 0, 3. And then you see, hey, you're not really following the other two, so we have to do in edit modes. I will select 1, 2, and 3, and then say for each one mark root. So root basically means from there it starts to grow and then follows that line. So here the same, Control L, then select everything, set this to dot 0, 0, 3, and then 1, 2, and 3. Oh, that's interesting. Why are the points? Oh, there it is. There. And mark roots. Okay, actually these points. How did this happen? Now I have to move those back. I can actually also simply have everything inside one object. Control J perfectly works out as well. Then I can turn the skin off for all at once or on at once. They don't have to be all separated. That's a nice thing about the mesh command. There. Turn this one off. 3D cursor S, Z, and 0. There are some left. Oh, there. S, Z, and 0. Oh yeah, so it snaps back because actually that foam part here has the same issue. So let's select it. S, Z, and 0. Okay, and we can select our wire object and turn on the stitching stuff. And there we see now. This already looks much more interesting. Maybe the stitching is a tick too big. So we could select everything and then .0015, maybe make it a tick smaller. Yeah, and you see here, something doesn't work. And that's because the shrink wrap doesn't have enough points for this rounding. So I could, add one more subdivision, and then this works. And then when I go into the edit mode, I can, for example, select all this, G and Z, move this one up a little bit to change the position where it is. Okay. One very quick way to build this type of upholstery with those details, and you see actually that just the small detail added to it gives it a complete different look. And to get this one really perfect, the best way is get a reference and then really try to pay attention to how are these pockets pillowed out, and then we can see if maybe with the amount of points we have here is if that is enough to sculpt it, because you always want to have the least amount of points, or if maybe at certain locations we have to add more points to it. But essentially this is kind of like the building block for this type of upholstery design. So what we have not done yet is the unwrapping for the fabric. So here with this design, we probably will have side seams going down. And ideally maybe you don't want to have them in each side, so it will have a big seam going around, maybe at the back somewhere here might be a big zipper or so. So how do we texture it so that everything will fit perfectly? So what I will do is I will go to cycles. I will create a simple UV fabric material. So UV editor, new, let's say UV test. So here I will use this UV grid again, just to see how everything unwraps. So if I do a basic unwrap, I get this chunk. Okay. Inside shading, I will turn off some of these sub-Ds here for the moment, so maybe the first one I keep, so it's a tick faster to work with. And mesh display, don't show me the creases, just show me the seams. Okay, so this and this, and maybe here, there and there, there and there. Those might be my seams. So Control E, mark seam. Okay, so technically speaking, this would be that part where we could, for example, have a zipper, and you can see that if I press L on this face, it also only selects what is included inside this marked area where the seams. That would be a big piece of fabric that then would be stitched together along those edges here. Okay, so let's unwrap everything. And let's turn on the material view. Oh, yeah, I forgot to give this also the image texture and then use the UV. Okay, so let's see how this all looks size-wise. It seems to be pretty good. So I can do some basic tests maybe to see if I can match it up. When not matched up, align it better. So I have, let me see, this part, and then I have this part. That's actually as long. Okay, so that's the lower part, which means this one here. So what I have to do now is try to see when I press G and X and move this one slowly to the right side, if maybe at one point I can line up these rectangles. This won't be perfect, but we can try to make it as close as possible, so that in case when you later you have a fabric with specific patterns, maybe this way the patterns can flow nicely into each other while they are actually seams. All the squares are all the same size, so I would say the UV unwrapping for this is actually okay. This works pretty well. So this was maybe option 1, where we have a big band going around, and then in the end we have the smaller part. And let's say we would like to have a different approach where you have left, right, front and back parts, and then also a bottom patch of fabric. So I will just make a copy of this one and move it to a different layer. And then all we have to do is here and here, I will select these two edges, Shift E, mark seam, AA, and unwrap. And then if we show the material, there you can see now this is an individual piece. This is an individual piece. And this is. I could also, let's say in fabrication, I don't want to have to cut these side strips, and I don't want to sew this because it's an extra step. I can remove this seam, but have the sides actually there, and just the bottom part is seamed. And then I UV unwrap this. And let me test something. 1, 2, 3, there. And there I just go only to the corner points. Okay, yeah, this all worked out perfect. So what is it that I'm actually looking at? You can see that there is kind of like, think about if a cardboard box and you unfold it, there are my sides, and here's the missing top. So this is here one object. And then when along this edge we would fold the fabric down, then at the sides we line up these two edges here, and then in real life we would stitch it together. So unwrapping the way how we did it here is perfect, because then we can place the fabric below, and then in the rendering it will exactly the way how maybe we're anticipated also in real life. So this was now the second way how to unwrap it, where as you can see we will have some seams there. Now then the question is, how will you show the seams? Will we have a stitching? Will we have a piece that hides it? Do we have decorative stitching? Well, it could also be, the stitching could also be, let's say, distracting. So maybe the other option I had, where it simply goes around and then only here and there we have a stitching so we don't see it, might be aesthetically a better idea. So let's show this one again, because at this point now you see where my stitching is and where this geometry is. So this actually now has to be updated. So this whole part has to go up a little bit, so in real life it will then kind of hide actually where that seam is. Maybe there. So why did this one not work on the other side? Let's see. First, this is a little bit slow, so I will lower actually the amount of sub Ds for the moment. So there it fits, there it fits. Oh, in general, actually, I did not move this one high enough. Maybe I canceled the move command and I don't know. Okay, take higher, take higher. Yeah, like this. Okay. Because this slows down actually my 3D view, I could, when this design is done, set this to 4, and then for render time I set this one back up to this, so that only during rendering it will use the slower but more accurate mesh. Okay, perfect. That's it. So, and then for the rest of the chair, you can see that I have selected kind of like strips like this. So this will be one strip, this will be one strip, this will be one strip. From the back around it could be one strip. So the issue with seams is you don't want to show them necessarily, but if your object goes in different directions, well, then you need to have seams, so there's no way around it. So you can place them strategically. Okay, so unwrap. Let's take a look at the UV editor, how this looks. Oh, this got rotated. That's not good. So let's rotate this one back. What part is that actually? I'm curious which part I see there. So let me show another 3D view. No. Ah, okay, that explains it. There's this edge added there. So there I forgot those seams, mark seam, AA, and unwrap. Yeah, now everything is nice and flat. Okay, let's take a look at the material preview and you will see there is some garbage happening. So, and that's because we unfold a really flat object, but then we just add bevels to it. And you see these two bevels here work pretty well, but then what kills it is this first bevel here. So there are two ways how we could fix this. Honestly, the fastest one, make a copy and backup it, and then this fillet we simply will apply. And you see the craziness that's happening. And then just we unwrap one more time. Let's take a look, and there everything flows perfectly. So that, for example, for unwrapping the seat. Let's take a look at our wooden area, how we do that. Fortunately, because it's one part, we only have to do it one time. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and 1, 1, and 1. Control E, mark seam, unwrap. Okay, so there are now these different parts. And let's create a wood material for it. And we say image, image, image. There. I just downloaded it from the web. A small there. Let's show it. Okay. So the nice thing, because these parts are all next to each other, in texturing you will see they all look kind of unique from each view. Now that's not necessarily 100% correct, the way how these parts are mapped, but for the moment, let's say this is okay. Actually, it doesn't even look so bad. Oh, this inner one is wrong. So let's see. There's that one, and that one there. Okay, so you, for example, want to be more there. So we have, which looks like the side grain, and then we have the front grain there and there. Okay. The only problem is you might see, because these are all copies, they all look exactly the same. But for the moment, that's fine. We could, if you want that to be different, then the fastest way, apply the mirror and then in edit mode in the view editor, move for each foot the faces around a little bit. So here we have to add a wood material as well. you unwrap. Okay, and let's see how this one will work out, if it even can, because this is a pretty big object, and we kind of force everything over it. So Control E, mark seam. I forgot to mark my seams. Unwrap. There. Let's take a look. And there you can see the scale is totally messed up. So you and you, height and height, rotate, and then yeah, the problem is now there. We can maybe do it this way, but you see this tiles everything, so not really ideal. Maybe we make him as big like this and then scale them apart, so maybe we can force a little bit more of this wood texture onto these blocks. And yeah, not perfect, but as long as we don't get too close, you don't see the scale difference from further away. That's okay. Good. This one here, we will give a new material, fabric, and also here, where is it? Image, there. And let's open that. This one, I'm not sure if this can be tiled. Let's see. So if in edit mode I scale this one up, you see I will start a tiling process. So I can do it this way or use the mapping mode. Sometimes in the UV editor this way it works not bad as well. But you see, not really perfect. So let's see if we can find a better material. This is not very good material. So it has to be nice and flat, so there's no shading on it. This one seems not having any specific or noticeable shading, so let's test it. Yeah, a little bit, but it's not too noticeable actually. There's enough noise. If we zoom in there, you can see it, but otherwise, for a quick study, this could work. So, and then we would have to give the material to those two as well. So fabric and fabric. So the scale factor now I would like to manually control. So what I will do now, because I have to match all the different parts, I by accident overlooked that. So these two objects, I will double check if these squares are all the same size. They are not in this object. Let's take a look there. Okay, maybe a tick bigger. Then that means here I have to make this a little bit smaller. Yeah. Because making it smaller makes the texture on the mesh appear bigger. So now these rectangles of my other part and the pillow are nearly the same size, so that's perfect because now I know when I give each object a fabric material, the pattern will have the same size. Because now I can go into the node editor, go to the object thing here, input my coordinate system, then I need the mapping. UV is what we use there, and then I can overwrite this one 5 times, 3 times, 4 times. Okay, you see that each one actually gets then the same scaling factor applied, and it looks more consistent. Okay, and this was basically then the quick run through how you would have to do the texturing for everything. The last tricky part are actually those. I honestly would not bother too much with them. I would just give them a color that's very close, because it's insanely difficult to texture them so it really looks like the fabric being stitched and going around. And most times from this distance you might not even really see it. Only when you get close you would see that this is fake. So as long as it's not really necessary, I wouldn't do it. Okay.